I welcome Professor Dr. Kai-Uwe Schrogl for the closing remarks for the session. Professor Schrogl is the president of the International Institute of Space Law, the professional association of space law experts from almost 50 countries, member of the International Academy of Astronautics, recently chairing its Commission on Policy, Economics, and Regulations, the Russian Academy for Cosmonautics, and corresponding member of the French Air and Space Academy, the International Law Association, as well as member in academic space law and policy related institutions in China, India, Japan, and the Netherlands, Russia, and the UK. He is also the incoming co-chair of the Global Future Council on Space of the World Economic Forum. Dr. Schrogl is Special Advisor for Political Affairs at the European Space Agency. From 2019, he was seconded to the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy in Berlin to support the German presidency of the Council of the European Union in the second half of 2020 and the presidency trio until the end of 2021. He was the Chief Strategy Officer of ESA in France. From 2007 to 2011, he was the director of the European Space Policy Institute in Vienna, Australia, the leading European think tank for space policy. Prior to this, he was the head of the Corporate Development and External Relations Department in the German Aerospace Center in Germany. Previously, he also worked with the German Federal Ministry for Post and Telecommunications and the German Space Agency in Bonn, Germany. He has been a delegate to numerous international bodies and forums and has served from 2014 to 2016 as chair of the legal subcommittee of the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, the highest body for space lawmaking comprising of 73 member states. He also was the chair of various European and global committees. He presented, respectively testified at hearings of the European Parliament and the US House of Representatives. Professor Schrogl has written or co-edited 20 books and more than 140 articles, reports, and papers in the field of space policy and law, as well as telecommunications policy. Most recently, the Handbook of Space Security in 2 volumes at Springer, and a research agenda for space policy at Edward Elgar. He sits on editorial boards of various international journals in the field of space policy and law. Professor Schrogl holds a doctorate degree in political science and lectures international relations from Germany. Sir, it is indeed an honor to have you amongst us.
Thank you very much indeed for the kind introduction, Madam Chair. And you can be sure that it's a particular pleasure and also an honor for me to be with you and to be on this panel, which is composed of so many colleagues and long-time friends. Before saying a few words and give a few reactions on the wonderful presentations, I should point out how glad the International Institute of Space Law is about its Indian members, individual members as well as institutional members. And you pointed out that Professor Murthy has been, until most recently, the vice president. We have Dr. Kaul as a very active board member. Mr. Gopal is active in our group. And I should mention, and I see almost 150 participants, amongst whom certainly there will be a lot of students. I should mention that Indian teams to our Manfred Lachs Space Law Moot Court are the most active, and I'm very pleased to say that, also the most successful teams. When we do our global competition in the world regions, we always have teams from India outnumbering any other country, even region, and this shows how much interest there is about space law in India. And mentioning the success, I have actually looked it up before I switched on. We had amongst the winners of the World Finals in 2014, 2017, and 2020, Indian teams as the winners, the global winners, and the competition is tough, I can tell you. And the success even has to be rated higher than you can expect if we see that Indian teams in the past 6 or 7 years won 3 times these finals. So congratulations. And you, and I address now all the student participants, you are the next generation. You can also build on a very, very proud tradition of Indian space law academic as well as space law making experience, exemplified also through the gentleman you see here on the panel. So I am extremely pleased to see such a big interest in promoting the rule of law in outer space. So let me say a few words, only a very few words. I know we are already over time. On the presentations, which I extremely liked. They were absolutely ingenious and had excellent ideas. So I can only say 1 or 2 words on each of them, while I could praise the presentations now for a long time. So let me turn to Professor Shao. I was very much appreciating your call and your message to further facilitate the conclusion of international agreements. This is so necessary. If we want to have the rule of law in outer space, we have to have rules, and we have to have binding rules. And you made it clear what is at hand. And I very much liked what I would call a toolbox when you presented the vertical and horizontal dimensions of cooperation. This is extremely helpful in understanding how to approach things and how to handle things. I was also pleased that you mentioned and started off with the Space Benefits Declaration of 96. In fact, that was one of the first activities I undertook when I was a very young man, just entering into the legal subcommittee. We worked together with the Latin American group in setting up the Space Benefits Declaration, and we understood that as a kind of interpretation, not an authoritative one, but an interpretation of Article 1. And there in particular, because the title Benefits Declaration, that we should not simply either force cooperation upon countries, nor should countries do everything on their own. So the Outer Space Treaty has enshrined the philosophy also and the principle of cooperation. And cooperation goes with rules, with standards, with approaches. And there, the freedom of use as the most basic principle and the freedom of choice, let me put it that way, is certainly one of the key elements. And you perfectly then transported that into today. And again, with your toolbox, I think that's a wonderful approach in better understanding and also then in practice work on that. Let me turn to Mr. Gopal. It was a fascinating voyage through the issue area of resource mining, and you made it so beautifully visible what is possible and what benefits can arise. But also, you pointed out that there is a not so easy situation on the regulatory path. Now, you were so right, and I was so happy to hear that you took or you take the Moon Agreement seriously. And you don't bedevil it, because unfortunately, as you pointed out, the Moon Agreement does not have a very good reputation, but that's absolutely wrong. And you were perfect in pointing that out and providing the rationale. The Moon Agreement is not disabling us to do resource mining, it is enabling us, but it is enabling us on the background that this should not be done for the benefit of only one country or one company or one billionaire. It has to be done before the benefit of all humankind. And this turns also to what Professor Shao said and raised with a Space Benefits Declaration. Now, Mr. Gopal, I have the following idea. You could also approach it in a politically different way. You had a straightforward idea which you presented to us, which I fully subscribe. But you can even do a side track in that. First, India, of course, should ratify the agreement. You have signed it in 1982. Well, you could also ratify it. And then you could do the following. You could call a conference of the state parties to the agreement, which would then be 18 plus India, 19 countries. And then you work out together with these countries, which is almost 20, not bad. You work out a regime under Article 11. And even if it's only 20 states, this would be the only, really the only legitimate framework for resource mining in outer space. Consider that. You have the chance. India is very close. India is a superpower in space. If you take that step, you know what will happen? I'm pretty sure after 5 years, at minimum 20 or 30 other states will also sign and ratify the agreement in order to be part of this only legitimate approach.
Points well taken, sir. Thank you very much. Points well taken. Thank you very much.
Because I was kind of inspired by your presentation, which is the straightforward one. But that one it's more risky, but it could also work, and it could give an enormous political push to the world community. Now, last point, Professor Mutti, my very long time friend and colleague, I'm so glad to be on that panel together with you and to be again enlightened by your ideas and thoughts. This time on space traffic management, but in the past years by so many discussions and deliberations we had together. Now, I cannot express how valuable your chart, this one chart on the status of and the scope of space traffic management is. I have never seen such a clear and such a systematically sound presentation on one page on what is encompassed in space traffic management. Now, I also have an idea to make that fruitful. You are aware, everybody is aware that since 2016 there is this single issue item on space traffic management in the legal subcommittee. Why shouldn't the Indian delegation not present specifically this chart and explain around this chart what is useful, what is necessary, and how we could proceed in the legal subcommittee? I think it's highest time. We have a little bit here, a little bit there, in the nations here, in some organization there. You also pointed out to ISO, but we do not yet have a clear understanding and approach in the legal subcommittee. We have this item, but it has not yet been really, let's say, successful in initiating a debate. I think your chart and what you said around that, explaining it, might be a booster for the legal subcommittee and for the topic of space traffic management to go one step further. So I would really encourage you to see whether this would not be possible, because you know the committee very well. You need such initial points to start off, and then I think it can certainly work. So, Madam Chair, thank you very much for providing me with the opportunity to say a few words and to simply provide my appreciation to the three presenters and their presentations, which, as you see from my reaction, are so far-reaching, so interesting and also ingenious that this session should, I hope, have very strong impact and consequences in various fields. Thank you very much.